Hi Pisces, welcome to my channel. Jupiter will go retrograde on 20th of June in your sign at 2 degree of Pisces. Jupiter is one of your ruler and it rules our social expansion. Retrograde periods of Jupiter, which happen every 13 months for 4 months, are the time when our collective growth seems to slow down as we have to process where we are going. This is a natural part of our cycle of growth. Jupiter visits our sign once in approximately 12 years, with the last transit in your sign being in 2010. Whenever Jupiter comes in our sign, it expands the very frame with which we look at our life, asking us to draft the next chapter of growth, the next decade of growth of our life. This, along with Neptune, would recreate your identity in 2022. And the foundations of that are being laid down right now. While Jupiter will fully come in your sign only in 2022, we are seeing a preview of it right now as it stands still, about to go retrograde in your sign. Over the course of next 4 months, it would rework the forward-looking opportunities of your life, detoxing it of the social influences and excesses to make sure that's the right direction you really want to take. If you have hit a wall or not able to make progress any further during the retrograde period, we would by our own efforts find alternative ways to move forward. The excesses are paired and our happiness and sense of fulfillment becomes the central intention of move forward. The transit is spread across 2 zodiac signs, yours and Aquarius, so we would review 2 areas of your life which will be a topic of review for growth and fulfillment over the course of next 4 months. One is meant to help you in 2021 and the other is for 2022. They together define your growth patterns of 2021 and 2022. Pisces, Jupiter would be going back over the subject of growth and fulfillment from your current identity, your current life path, your current physical body, how we come across our appearances till about 28th of July while it is in your sign. Then after 28th of July till 18th of October, we will find that the review cycle becomes more inward because the focus shifts to hidden talents, affairs, complexes, inner peace, spirituality, healing, faith, creativity, subconscious matters. We will go deeper into both of these topics today. This is part 2, which is sign specific. I have covered the collective impact of this transit in part 1, which is the overview of this transit. Please go through the part 1 because it's important to understand the overview of the transit because it's a social planet and it affects the collective. My name is Charu and I'm your host on this journey. So let's begin. Pisces, as I mentioned, Jupiter would be going back over the subject of growth and fulfillment from your current identity, physical body, appearances, and life path till about end of July, around 28th of July. Then after 28th of July, as Jupiter moves into Aquarius till 18th of October, we would find that the focus of this review of growth or the direction that we're going in becomes more about your hidden talents working behind the scenes, hidden affairs, hidden complexes, things that are below the surface, inner peace, spirituality, healing, faith, the patterns that affect us outside, but they are operating way below the surface. These are the building blocks of you as you would be creating your identity from scratch, redefining the I, while ending a major cycle of your life this year, to have a blank slate with 2022, both of your rulers, Jupiter and Neptune, coming in your sign, recreating your identity on new terms that you have not had before this. Pisces, as the Jupiter transitions from the 12th house of ending to the 1st house of new beginning from 2021 to 2022, your growth focus will move from 2021 being about self-transcendence, where we dissolve our whole old identity, to 2022, where the focus will be on self-development and a new identity or ego is created. After many years of Neptune slowly dissolving what is not real in your external world, which might have seemed like losses, Jupiter coming in your sign helps bring a new perspective of what's possible in place of what's seemingly lost or released during the course of last couple of years. With a grand water trine of 20th to 23rd of June and 12th of July, your creative release finds a physical form. These are your creative houses and the houses that focus on our future goal, which are coming together in a positive aspect with each other, and they aim to create a physical form of an artistic expression. This ease helps you express who you truly are and where do you want to go. An ease of creativity, inspiration, and life force flows through you, and it's looking for an outlet. This trine in the houses of life gives us courage and creativity to elevate our goals. A surge of confidence shows us an ideal of what we want to aim for. Make use of these positive dates to come up with what is it that you want. What's the goal? For some of you, it would be physically shown to you through a piece of creative work or writing or a creative output, especially if you have Pisces rising, sun or moon around 2 degree of Pisces. So the early degree of Pisces, or if you're Pisces sun born around 21st to 22nd of Feb, you'll find that something physically is created out of this courage, out of this wanting to have more in your life. All of you would feel this energy and should use this energy these dates, 20th to 23rd of June and 12th of July, to make an effort to make something out of this dream. Else it would just remain like a feel-good dream or a lofty plan, because it's an easy energy. It's easy to sort of not create anything out of it, because it's just an easy energy. If there's a push or a pull with it, we normally, out of friction, are forced to create something. Here we are not forced to create anything. We are inspired to create something. As you have this inspiration, you will be well placed right now to stay with it instead of sharing it. It is required right now that you keep this thought, this higher goal, higher knowledge, some sort of a aha moment or some sort of epiphany that you are having to yourself. This positive experience and a higher goal needs to be kept away from social influences for some time and nurtured in privacy till you are able to give shape to it, because it will be very unique and in some ways out of this world, in the sense it's not common to have this kind of a thought process to create something. And much like a newborn, you need to shield it for the next couple of months, because we can very quickly lose conviction in it or the purity of it if you expose it too early to social criticism or influence. Holding that vision high in our mind, we move back in July to go back to the workshop to piece this dream together. And that will happen through your solo effort. You'll have another go at it through a different approach. It's soulful, it's dreamy, it's idealistic, it will feel not so practical to others. It's ethereal. It's ethereal in nature. It has elements of fantasy in it. It will be way beyond what you have thought for yourself before. And there will be elements in it which are idealistic, which we need to see. There will be blind spots in our own ability to get it that we need to see. Because initially the feeling always, because Neptune is in your sign, your ego is being dissolved. And when Neptune will be standing still towards the end of June, we will not feel that we can do it. There are blind spots in your own ability to bring that idealistic vision to reality do exist, and you need to see them, because Neptune reduces our ego, so we are open to a new vision of our life, But in doing that, we become soft mush. And in that soft mush, our faith in our own structure, it's like a newborn, not fully formed yet. There is no conviction in its identity yet. So it's difficult to have faith in that vision right now, and you'll be urged to actively have faith in it by your own efforts, by actively working towards it in July. External support for that vision, if it has come, because the grand trine that will form both on 12th of July, which is just a trine, and the grand trine of 20th to 23rd of June, might involve other people. It's possible that the inspiration comes through a mentor, comes through a discussion, comes through a travel, comes through a creative output. But that inspiration, the support for that will seem to withdraw from July. And that's where the test becomes of conviction in it. Do you really want it? Is that what you truly want? Or is it something that because a dream was probably introduced by somebody else or through an interaction with somebody else, is that truly yours or not? So the test would begin in July about it. This is a new identity, a new title, a new life path, a new way of proceeding forward in life that you're seeing, and you're taking a step back to be sure that is what you truly want before you go all in into it. It's an alternative way of living, an alternative way of showing up to the world, but that's going to be fully only live or fully presented to you only in 2022. It's a theme of 2022, and it will not be till January of 2022 when you'll find the missing pieces of this puzzle of what this new identity is. And you have been there before. We transitioned from an old identity to a new identity back in December of 2009 to January of 2010. Imagine yourself moving through that process in a slow motion kind of thing, because you sort of have an extended period of months versus days of that transition right now. And you have this added confusion or blessing of Neptune in your sign, which means that this will be way beyond your comfort zone, way beyond your old identity. And it's very much possible that there are elements of it which are not real or possible, but you'll have to test that by yourself instead of asking somebody else to give an opinion on it right now. You would be recreating your identity for the next chapter of your life. For that, we'll take a step back in July to find an alternative way to this new life path. But as I said, that's for 2022. Jupiter in 2021, even before it gets to your sign, wants to create an expansion, but that expansion is behind the surface, that's behind the scene. It is inside of you. Before it can expand the external reality for you, there are certain things behind the surface that it needs you to enlighten with, deal with. There is an inner journey which you have been on, and you have been on that inner journey most of this year possibly. And in that inner journey which you possibly have been on this year, fullness of life is experienced within oneself. Out of too much attempt to start new chapters or attract others. Because it's the time when you are just with you. We're not aiming to start something. And that might have been the phase since till about early May. Early May is when, mid of May is when Jupiter came in your sign, and that energy changed to more outward. But till then might have been the period when we retreat. We retreat, and it can feel easy to disappear or even tune out, even if we are in the crowd. Because we are trying to find fulfillment within versus seeking it outside during this phase of our life. Trying to learn why we were born, what's the purpose of life, where do I fit in, what's my place in this whole creation, what was my reason to be born, or why did my soul choose this experience to come here. We deal with our past here too, as a decade-old chapter of life is coming for completion. We take responsibility for the choices made so far and make peace with them. Growth here comes from looking at our life in the rearview mirror and saying goodbye to a few chapters, seeing our subconscious patterns that have resulted in the life we created so far. The patterns that self sabotage us are also exposed in this period because we're trying to enter this new cycle of our life by either weeding them or at least knowing them consciously. We take a self inventory of sorts of both our strengths and our weakness before we create a new life. And in that journey of being real with ourselves, we find a lot of treasures too, which might have been suppressed because of social influences and obligations so far. Many hidden talents and strengths are found when Jupiter is in our 12th house, which you've had since January and you'll continue to have from 28th of July to the end of the year. Those hidden talents and strengths are the output beyond clearing the closet in 2021. We would now like to uncover and use those talents and strengths in our next chapter of life and possibly not hide them anymore. We might have hidden them because of social convention so far. But when we have been through a whole circle of our life choices through those phases of development, they get polluted through various people, influences, or the people we had to live with, places we had to live with, obligations we had, people we had to adjust with. Now, in this 12th house moment in 2021, we have a reckoning with ourselves and nobody else, reckoning with ourselves and our Creator. We find our internal radar again here. And most importantly, we find hope again. Know that this is a transition year for you. I always call the activation of this house as the time of God, if you believe, or the higher powers that you believe in, because we are urged to dissolve our external identity, our very self that we have created over the course of last decade or more, and return to the womb so we can start from the place of unbounded joy, innocence of a newborn who has washed off all the losses, all the biases, all the negativity and the experiences that we accumulated in the past cycle of our life. We rediscover our wholeness, and some find it in spirituality, meditation, creativity, in selfless service or healing methods. Some find it in escape sometimes. There is a desire to reconnect with the lost sense of wholeness, like we can feel homesick even while being at home. We yearn to return to that blissful, serene, peaceful, and dare I say, ecstatic place before all those life experiences had us jaded over the course of past decade. This dissolution of ego identity can be fearful, and we may panic and might quickly want to take whatever new identity we can find just so we have an anchor. But Jupiter turns back and says, no, let's not in a hurry take on an identity that is not truly ours. Let's be sure of it. Let's know it fully. Let's take that cloak, because you're going to wear that for the next decade again. Let's be sure before we take that on. And Jupiter also turns back to tell us that we need to do more work before assuming that new external identity. There's work to be done within ourselves before we can get there. There's work to be done behind the surface, behind the scene, before we can bring it out to everybody. And we go back to the workshop from 28th of July onwards to retouch that part of our life, close the chapters we still are holding on to, because those patterns should not be playing out again in the new chapter of life we are about to begin, and release some of the skeletons, some of the unhealthy subconscious patterns which will come back to haunt us in the new life if they are not handled now. We complete some of the work on our new fine talents to strengthen them, to become a champion at them in our privacy. We handle some of the hidden things in our closet. Normally, Jupiter goes back there because we left something. We left something untouched. We left something on faith to finish it off, but now we need to have a reckoning with it ourselves, and we need to close a few chapters before moving forward. There's usually a pattern or a lack of forgiveness or some sort of it's like a pin, it just will keep pinching you. It could be an ancestral pattern or a karma which we need to break before we can go into this new cycle. Otherwise, it will keep on like that dull ache that remains, but it's discomfortable, but it's not that much discomfortable that it doesn't cause that much discomfort that you handle it. It will keep on pinching you. In terms of pursuits, if throughout this year you found some hidden desire, hidden talents, or there were some creative, spiritual, or serving or healing professions which you found within yourself that is your purpose of life, and you started something new on it this year, but they have not given the kind of results you hoped, or they're not fulfilling you in the way you thought they would, this inward journey of growth from 28th of July to 18th of October will ask us to find an alternative route. And on our own, we'll have to find a unique way to make it happen. We might have even lost ourselves too much to that idea, or we might have lost ourselves to an artistic or a creative idea. And Jupiter going back will ask us to make something out of it, instead of it just remaining a thought or a creative high. And we go back to find that balance. We also go back to find the meaning in what we're trying to do. What is the why behind it? The growth avenues that were opened this year, especially since March, they all would be reviewed and revisited to see if there are any patterns within our subconscious that's blocking them from coming to full fruition. It's also to see if those avenues were just open. Sometimes the creativity and the spirituality, it's important in us, but it's just a means of escape sometimes versus doing what needs to be done. We need to be honest with ourselves in this cycle. Secrets, if any, they have come up, or anything that is below the surface that we've been keeping hiding, we would review for a way to come clean on it. You are literally cleaning house this year. We start forward movement with peace a bit lighter here. So we are going back to make sure the house we left empty, everything is cleaned up there. We have peace before moving forward. Any chapters half closed from your previous life that are left, you would go back to be honest with yourself and close them within your own moral code. Sometimes health and healing is revisited because there might be a health habit or a healing practice, something old was not addressed, which needs to be. And we find alternative solution to a health issue by going back on it. We seek transcendence, but there is escape and there is transcendence. We find the difference because soon we would need to go out there. Every part of our life would be out on display. Every skeleton in our closet would be out for display. And we'll have to go out there stronger than ever. This was last experienced in 2009, but you did not have Neptune, your second ruler, in your sign as well. You could bring forward lessons from 2009, but this is a moment in your life that you have never experienced before. Having both of your rulers in your sign in 2022 is a very unique moment in anybody's life. There's no other sign who has ever experienced something like that. So you sort of are getting ready for it, getting prepared for it psychologically, physically, and being sure that that's the forward path you like to take. That's what I have for you, Pisces. Hope it was helpful. I'll see you in the next video now. Thank you.